So in this video of Naylor's Garage, we're going to go from an engine that looks like this to an engine that looks like this. So to get an engine that looks like that, we'll need a fair few bits. First things first is I've finally got my sump for the engine, which is the Sikky front sump for the E30. This allows it to fit around the subframe and steering rack. I got the full kit, like it's got the oil filter relocation kit. You can't actually use this sump without that, because I think it hits the subframe somewhere around here where the oil filter is usually located. So that comes with all the hard lines, pickup tube, which we've got, all Sikky parts, all brand new. It's taken a while for it to turn up. Relocation pipes, and it comes with an oil filter as well. So they're the first bits that I've ordered that we're going to look at. These bits I've had an order for a while. I've just been waiting to get them back from the States. It comes with a dipstick and all that sort of stuff. You don't use the OEM location for the dipstick. So one of the first jobs we have to do is to tap the original dipstick hole with what I believe is a 1/4 inch MPT, which I have got a tap here to do that. And we just bung that off with a bit of PTFE tape so it's all sealed and nice. And we're not going to have any leakages, hopefully. So yeah, that's first thing. One of the first things, we're going to tap that thread, get that bung in. Then I need to look at doing the necessary modifications to the windage tray, which I think I've just got to cut a bit out, but I need to clean the windage tray up as well. So we'll look at doing that. I've also got a few other little bits and bobs that I've been waiting for. Not waiting for, I've just not ordered. One of them is the oil barbell. This is what make sure the oil goes into the oil filter. Because the way the block's machined, if you don't have that in or it fails, the oil can go past the oil filter and you can have no oil pressure and many bad things will happen. So I've got that to put on. I've got the rear main seal to go on and cover. I've not been able to do that until I got that barbell. I've got a full set of coil packs, spark plugs, I've got these NGK mod performance ignition coils. Don't know what they're like, we'll give them a go. NGK is a good brand, so I trust that it's going to be pretty good. They weren't actually any more expensive than getting what seemed like standard coils, so we'll see. We've also got an NGK wire set. The only thing that's a little bit annoying, and I just didn't think, is that the wires are blue. I'm not sure whether I'm going to like that, but we'll see. We'll get it put together and we'll see what we think. I've also got, like I said, full set of plugs and a couple of sensors as well that I'm going to put on the engine. So it's going to look a bit more complete. I'm still not going to have an inlet manifold on it. Still deciding what I'm doing with that, but yeah. Let's get on. I'm not going to waffle in this video. So first job we're going to tackle, let's tap this thread for the bung for the oil plug. As you can see, that's the original dipstick hole. We don't need that now because the new sump has an inbuilt dipstick or a new dipstick location. So we're going to tap this hole with, I can't remember what I said before, but it's an 1/8 inch NPT, national pipe thread. So little trick, if you've not got a tap driver, a little trick is some taps will actually fit in a socket backwards, and then all you need is a socket that can go on the end, so it's all like one piece. A little trick if you've not got a tap driver. For some reason I thought this was going to be more difficult to get to, so I didn't think I'd be able to get a tap driver in there, so I didn't even bother. There was a little bit more room than I thought, so we'll give it a go. What I'm going to do as well is just put the tap in a touch of oil. Still got a load of oil from when I was doing all the other engine bits, so that's just in a tub. I've just used engine oil, doesn't have to be anything special. You just never want to go in dry.
That's what she said!
Michael! Michael, please.
And just working it in like half turn or a turn, and then out half turn. So we'll see how that is. I'll just get the bung and just send it in, no tape for now, just see if it sits nice, and then if it's fine, I'll PTFE tape it and we'll put it in. So the bung you're supposed to use is, because it comes with two, I believe the one you're supposed to use is the silver one. So there's a black and a silver. I believe it's the silver one that goes in the block. Not sure what size Allen key it is actually. Oh, I bet it's Imperial, yeah. It's a 3/16. Yeah, so a little 3/16. We'll send that in, see if she threads in nice. If she does, we'll PTFE tape it and call job done. Lovely jubbly. Right. We'll call that a win. First job done-ish, almost. So with PTFE tape, you probably all know already, there is a bit of a way of wrapping it so it doesn't all bunch up as you undo it, or as you tighten it up, sorry. You basically want to wrap it round, almost going like righty-tighty. Otherwise, if you can have it where if you wrap it the wrong way, it all bunches up and gets a bit crap. So yeah, just almost put it in and just righty-tighty around it, because that's the way it's going to go into the block. There we go. She's fitted. Job one complete.
So I didn't tell you what I was doing, but here I'm just removing the oil diverter valve from the back of the engine. I just need to do this before I fit the rear plate with the rear main seal.
So I've just popped that out with, not really the right tool for the job, but just a pair of flush cuts. It's only plastic, so it's not going to damage my flush cuts, and that's the main thing I'm bothered about. But you can see how old and horrible it is. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned of, they are slightly different designs. I'm just going to have a look in the hole, make sure we're not going to have an issue. Let's have a look. We'll put her in, see what she looks like. I think she's alright. Crisis averted. Right, yeah, so I've popped that oil diverter in there. Like I say, it's just more preventative maintenance, and it's, I can't remember how much it was, more expensive. Did look slightly different spec, which worried me a little bit, but I think I'm pretty confident that's fine, it's sealed. So next thing, now that's in, I can actually put this rear plate on. I need to get this on obviously before I put the sump on. I did clean this up when I cleaned the rest of the engine up and put a new rear main seal in it. So I have been wanted to be careful of this, putting this on. Apparently it can be a bit fiddly, especially on an engine stand like this. There's not a lot of room, so I'll have a little thinking how to do it. That's pretty easy. Obviously there was a little bit of oil on the seal, and it's got the guide that popped off as I pushed it in. Well, it's now in the oil, so I'm not picking that up. It's all dirty. So now I just need to find in my bag of bits. So in this bag, this should have the rest of the bolts I need to put this rear cover on. I will just check all the lengths as they go in. Obviously this has gone in with a new gasket as well. Having this engine frame very close is making it a little tricky, but we're getting there. Some of these are going to be a bit tedious to tighten up because quite a few of them are hidden by the engine frame. And one of them I don't even think I'm going to be able to get in until it's actually off this. I even left me ratcheting spanners at home, which is a little bit sad. I have remembered tools this time, though, that was good. I'm not going tight with them anyway, I'm going to get them all somewhere near and then I'll snug them all up. That ratchet was doing me head in. It's a new one, don't really like it. It's just a bit more low profile, but I'd actually need it on for these ones. Right, I'm going to come back to that when I've got the right tools. It's doing me head in. I've only brought half my tools. I was going to bring them all. I don't know why I didn't bring more, but here we are. Next thing, I kind of need to see where I need to trim this windage tray and put the oil pickup tube on, which is behind me. So this obviously comes with the kit and relocates it for a front sump. Which goes something like that. But I think because of this windage tray needs trimming, which is still horrendously dirty. So I might see if I've got some cleaner. So all I'm going to do is hit it with some engine degreaser. I've got a wire brush and a blade, which I'll just take all the thick stuff off and it should come up quite nice.
I should have really cleaned this while I was cleaning the rest of the engine. Bit of short-sightedness from me there, but yeah, bit of elbow grease and she's pretty good. Good for me anyway.
So that's the windage tray pretty clean. It's not mint, but she did a damn sight better. No loose or thick crud on it anymore. So I'll probably clean it up a bit more, but just to let me see where I need to chop off, this is good enough. I didn't really want to put that on when it was all dirty, even just for a test fit, because I've spent so much time cleaning this engine, it make it look a right mess. So yeah, take the old dipstick off. Not dipstick. So apparently it's trimmage that I need to do, but at the minute I'm struggling to see where. So looking at this, I'm not quite sure why you need to trim the sump, trim the windage tray, because everything it looks fine, doesn't look like it's going to contact on anything. Let me do some research, because from what I'm looking at now I don't see why it needs trimming. So I'll get back to you. So when I had read correct that you have to trim the windage tray, but I assumed that it was because of where the pickup tube sat. It's not. It's actually, so the windage tray has clearance for the back of the sump because it gets quite narrow at the back. So what you need to do is trim on the rear to about here, by just, I think I'm going to follow up here, like so, go across there, and then we'll follow this line up, and we'll trim it something like that. From the instructions, that's pretty much what they're saying you need to trim off. That's maybe a little bit too much, but we'll see how I get on when I trim it. I might not actually trim that much off, but for now. That's what I've marked off. So that's another job I can't do right now. Getting quite good at doing jobs that I can't finish. So, windage tray's marked up and clean. So that's one thing. So I gave up yesterday because I didn't have anything to cut the windage tray on me. So I took it home and I've trimmed it with a jigsaw and just cleaned the edges up with a file. So that is now trimmed and ready to go on. So we'll get that bolted on first thing. So obviously make sure the bit that you've just cut off and the bit that says rear goes to the rear, like so. And then you want your windage tray nuts, which are probably a 13mm. They are indeed a 13mm. Wind them all on, apart from this one. Second one back on the left, because this is the one the oil pickup tube is going to bolt into as well. So I've just snugged them up, so I'll just get the torque spec and we'll, well, if there is a torque spec anyway, we'll get the torque spec, which I'm sure there is. Windage tray nuts, 18 foot-pounds, which is about 25 Newton meters. That's the windage tray torqued down. We'll fire the pickup tube in next for the second time. Straight in. We'll do the same, just snug that one bolt down that we left out and then we'll torque it. Then I just need to find the nut, or the bolt, sorry, that bolts the, goes from the pickup to the pump, which I should have somewhere. Can't remember if I just torque that pickup tube down. I didn't. Naughty boy. And then I'm just sending the pickup bolt in just a bit of RTV sealant just on the threads, so it reduces the chance of it vibrating out. There we go, pickup tube installed. So the next thing is, I've now brought my 10mm ratcheting spanner. I've brought every ratcheting spanner I've got. So I'm going to snug up these rear cover bolts, and that will mean that all the covers are on, and at that point I think I can put the sump on. I think. So I'll do that. Let's do that. It's amazing how much easier it is when you're using the right tools. There's a real tricky one here, just where the bolt for the engine stand is. It's nigh on. It's not impossible to get on, but it's bloody difficult. And annoyingly, I can't get my ratcheting spanner in at the minute either. I'll come back to you once I've got these all tightened up. So that's the rear cover tightened down and torqued. The windage tray and our pickup pipe also tightened down and torqued. So I think it's time we do a little test fit of the sump, which is down here. Must say it's a lovely bit of kit, really nice bit of kit. I knew it was going to be nice, but I didn't realise how nice it was going to be. Yeah, really quite impressed. So I'm only going for a test fit this time. When I do actually bolt it down, I will put some RTV sealant just where all the front cover block meet and where the block and the rear cover meet. I'll just put a bit of RTV on them just so we don't have any leakages. But for now I'm just going to drop it on, just have a little look, see what I need to do. Because I've got the relocation, oil pump relocation kit as well, which I'm not entirely sure why you'd buy this kit without this sump without that, because I'm probably a bit unsure on whether you could actually fit it anyway, as in fit it in the car if you don't have this kit. But anyway, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to clear this bench and I can show you what I'm doing really easily. So with the kit, obviously you get the main adapter piece, which is a nice bit of machined aluminium. You get 2 O-rings that sit around the adapter piece like that. That's what's going to seal that for the oil. And then you get 3 copper washers and 3 button head bolts, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't really like button head bolts. I'd much rather a cap head, but here we are. I'm sure it'll be fine. So the copper washers go in the pan this side, top side. Copper washers go in the holes. We then want to just lubricate the O-rings so they sit in the holes nicely. I'm just going to use a bit of the engine oil as usual. I managed to get everywhere. So yeah, a bit of engine oil around those holes. And this adapter block is threaded, so those 3 cap heads will bolt it up and you don't need to put, there's no nut on the other side. They get done up to 9 Newton meters, so I have nipped them up nicely. We'll now put the sump on. I have just dropped it on as a test fit and I'm quite happy to just bolt it straight on, to be honest. So yeah, I shall get the RTV and we'll get it bolted in. So I'm not going to go mad with the RTV. I'm using this Super RTV. I've used it on loads of stuff. I quite like it, so I'm going to use this stuff. I'm not going to go mad, like I say. I'm just going to put a nice thin slither on these edges, just to make sure, touch wood, we have no leaks. But like I say, it's going to be pretty minimal how much put on. Because the last thing you want is RTV running around your engine. So, just like that, I don't want any more. It's good enough for me. Like I say, that'll squidge down a bit, that'll be perfect. No leakages, I'm sure. So, right, gasket time. And then sump. Obviously making sure that you get the pickup in the hole. And then,
Yes, I think that's about it.
And then,
No, that's it.
and then,
No and then. That's all I want.
and then.
so first thing I'm going to do is just send these long bolts in. What I might do is just send these 2 in and make sure they're through the gasket first. Having a 10mm socket on a UJ for this is a bit of a win, because there's a few bolts on the front that you can't get a span around, or not a ratchet spanner anyway, but you can get this UJ socket, which is quite handy. So that's those two rear ones snugged up, and all the others, well, all of the bolts snugged up then. So next job, let's torque them up, which they get torqued to, I'll have to get the instructions up again, pretty sure it's 12 Newton meters for the rear ones and 25 for the rest of them. So as you can see, Sump's basically installed. You can't get a torque wrench in some of these, so I've just done it by feel. I've got a nice calibrated elbow, so I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, let's get the dipstick and stuff installed. Who are you calling a dipstick? Like I said, all pans installed. What can we do next? We can do the dipstick. So with the dipstick, you want to wrap this brass piece, adapter bung, in some PTFE tape, just like that. Just wrapped it up, and then we can wind that into the correct bung, and it's 19mm if you want to wind it in with a socket or spanner. Yeah, so once that bung's in, we're going to tighten down the compression fitting. So after that bit of messing about, I didn't talk much, but so trying to figure it out. But basically it comes with a bracket, a little, almost like a P-clip, and then a little 90-degree bracket. But I don't know if it's because the LQ4 is slightly different to an LS, or maybe Gen 3 is different to a Gen 4. But it seems this little bit of casting here, which I don't know if that's the same on a Gen 3 or a Gen 4, I'll have a look, seems to be getting in the way. And then this bracket doesn't seem to want to line up with any of these bolt holes. So I put the dipstick on without it. I mean, it feels fine, to be honest. I am going to put a bracket on it. I will use this P-clip, and I'll probably just make my own little bracket that there's a bolt hole here that I'll utilise and just make a little bracket myself, I think. So that's the dipstick installed. Next thing is, in the kit they provide two of these bungs. These are for, there's basically, if you wanted to put twin turbos on the car, or a turbo or whatever, you have two drain points in it, meaning you don't have to drill into the sump for a turbo drain. So again, we're just going to PTFE tape these. There we go, that's PTFE taped, both of them. So we'll send them in. There's also a little sensor bung, which there's a hole in the pan here, which I would assume is maybe for a oil level or oil temperature sensor or something like that, which I don't think I'm going to utilise that, because I can take oil temperature from up here and pressure. So one slightly peculiar thing is that they don't seem to have sent crush washer for the oil drain, so I won't be installing that until I've got a copper crush washer, because it won't, I can't see it sealing properly, and I'm in no rush to get that in anyway. So I am just going to put it in a couple of threads, but it's not in. So yeah, that's near enough. The sump fully installed. A few little tidbits, but I'll probably do them off camera. you don't need to watch me do them. So, what can we do next thing? So I have got a whole set of coil packs and I've got some sensors that I want to install. So I will do them actually. So, what I ended up getting was a new cam angle sensor and a new crank angle sensor. The old ones were probably fine, but these weren't particularly expensive, and I am going to keep my old sensors just in case. So they were both pretty much unknown origin, so I didn't really want to risk it, but like I say, I will keep them. Again, we're just going to oil those O-rings on the sensor. That's the cam angle sensor installed. And we've got the crank angle sensor as well. So I've just cleaned those bolts up, so I'm going to send those to them. So I'll just give them a nice nip. So that's my cam and my crank angle sensor fitted. So now I think I'm going to get my coil packs built up. So next thing is coil packs. So I can't remember if it's this side, no. So this side I think got damaged in transit, or when I cleaned it and maybe knocked it over. But anyway, 2 or 3 of the coil packs are absolute like knackered. So anyway, I bought some new coil packs. So what I'm going to do is just attach the coil packs, just tidy this bracket up. I'm not going to be repainting the bracket yet, because I need to figure out what I'm doing wiring loom wise, because I might end up modifying this bracket if I put different plugs on, or as in electrical connectors or what have you. So what I'm going to do for now is just strip this bit, clean the bracket, put it together like I'm going to use it as is, but this will get taken off. Even if I don't modify this coil pack bracket, I will take it all back off again and just paint it up and make it look nice basically. So what we're going to do, strip these coil packs off here, because as you can see we're well broken there. So I'm going to strip them off, which are just 2 10mm bolts on each coil, and then I'll clean the bracket up and I'll come back to you when I've done that. So I've cleaned the coil pack brackets up. They've come up alright. There's a bit of a rough spot on that one and a little tiny bit bent, but to get her bolted on, see what she looks like, see what I need to do, they're perfectly fine. I think I am going to do my own wiring sub harnesses for these. I just don't like the look of them, simple as. But I am going to bolt them up with the loom attached, and when I decide what I'm doing and how I'm going to do it, we'll take it off and redo it. But I want some visuals, so we're putting this on. So this is the original coil pack. Disgusting and dirty. Well, that's the original. And this is the new one. Good quality NGK ones. See how we get on.
So these coil packs are a direct replacement for the originals, just a more performance orientated version apparently. While bolting them down, the shorter 10mm bolt goes in the bottom and the longer bolt goes in the top. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't make them all the same size, but yeah, what do I know.
And there we go. that's all of the coils installed on the brackets. Let's get them on the engine. So to bolt them on, you just have these weird stud bolts that have got, it's almost like it's got a nut halfway down, but it's what holds the covers on if you run covers. I definitely think I'm going to have to do my own loom for these coil packs because it looks horrendous. Do something nice, a bit racy. So now the coil packs are installed. I'm going to do it off camera because you don't need to watch me put spark plugs in. But I'm going to put the spark plugs in, put the HT leads on. So as you can see, engine's pretty much built now, just missing inlet manifold and a few other odds and ends. But the bulk of it's done now. Got a few sensors in, coil packs on. Don't know whether I like these blue HT leads or spark plug wires. I think they'll clash when it goes in the red engine bay, so they might end up getting changed. Plus I think they might need to be a bit longer, and I also need to get the heat shields for them. I didn't realise when I ordered them there's a heat shield. I noticed it on the old coil packs. I mean, that one's crushed so I can't use that, but yeah, there's a heat shield that you can put on, which I want to do. But yeah, we're all there. I've obviously need to put the crank pulley on. I want to clean that up and paint it at some point, just so it looks a bit nicer. So yeah, hopefully in the near future we'll be getting this thing in the engine bay. We'll see how we get on with that. I do need to get some of my brackets and my engine mounts, like rubber mounts and stuff like that, ordered. So I've got all my bits and bobs to start fabricating myself some engine mounts. I also need to figure out what I'm doing gearbox wise, because initially I was going to get an adapter plate and run a BMW gearbox, but the adapter plates, including clutch and stuff, 1300 quid, plus I've got to buy a gearbox as well. And that's going to be 500 quid, so I'm going to be looking touching £2,000 I think by the time I get it all together, and they can only hold 400-500 newton meters torque, I think, from what I've read. So what I'm thinking I might do is see if I can get a T56 or something like that, something that can hold a lot of torque, a bit more road carry. It's definitely a 6-speed. The price difference isn't massive, and actually if I can find a gearbox cheap enough, it could be cheaper because I just need to buy a clutch and flywheel for it. It'll fit in the, plus it'll fit in the transmission tunnel of the E30 much nicer, because the T56 is a little bit of a smaller gearbox, I think, plus you don't have the added girth of the adapter plate, which will could make quite a bit of difference. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It means a lot. Hopefully see you in the next one.